Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Just No Family, where we'll see that sometimes aunts and cousins are simply just no. So now we're gonna move on to the next two posts which are related, and they are both from the user Shy Girl Turned Sassy. My boyfriend has an entitled cousin. We'll call her Cousin Karen, her husband Todd, and their kids. There had been a terrible fire in Karen and Todd's home, and while they and their kids were unharmed, their possessions were destroyed. They did have insurance, but claimed that they couldn't afford a hotel room till things got sorted out. Normally, my boyfriend's parents would have allowed them to stay at their place, but they were out of town and wouldn't return until a couple of days later, and they knew better than to let this family have free reign over their house. Boyfriend's sister was suddenly unwell and unable to have guests in her home. I do not blame her one bit. I would have done the same. So the responsibility to be there for family fell squarely on my boyfriend's shoulders. He agreed to let them stay in his guest bedroom till his parents got back. I tried to talk him out of it, but my man is kind and caring to a fault. It's what I love about him the most. But sometimes it's also the one thing I wish I could change about him. Anyway, I had been out of town for a few days and boyfriend picked me up from the airport and we went straight to his place. Karen and Todd acted happy to see me. Of course they did. What choice did they have? After a surprisingly quiet and peaceful dinner, we decided to go to bed. This is how the conversation that followed went. My boyfriend says, "Karen, OP and I are going to bed. If your kids are going to watch TV, just make sure the volume is down." Karen replies, "What do you mean you and her? You can't sleep in the same room. Not while my kids are here." My boyfriend goes, "What?" And she says, "You can live a sinful lifestyle all you want, but I don't want my kids exposed to it. I don't want to have to explain to them why a man and a woman who are not husband and wife are sleeping in the same bed. It'll be a bad influence on them." So my boyfriend goes, "You're in my home, Karen. You can't enforce your rules here. Just go to bed and keep your nose out of where it doesn't belong. Besides, it's not like we're being passionate in front of your kids. I don't see how this would affect them." Then Todd says, "She's right, you know. You really shouldn't be sleeping together if you're not married. But if you're gonna do that anyway, you should just go to her place." To which my boyfriend replies, "I have a better idea. Why don't you pack your stuff and get the F out of my apartment?" Karen starts wiping off invisible tears. "How could you say that? We're family. Why would you try to traumatize our kids with your sinful lifestyle? You're just being cruel. Our kids are being raised in a godly home and I'm protecting them from sin." My boyfriend is now raising his voice. "I haven't started to get cruel yet. Just pack your things and go stay in a hotel room." Todd, being the slightly more sensible one, knew that my boyfriend meant business and he somehow got his wife to go to the guest room. He then apologized to my boyfriend and spewed some kind of BS about his wife being upset due to recent events, the fire, and that she didn't know what she was saying, an excuse for her behavior. My boyfriend told him they could stay, but to remember that he wasn't going to be pushed around in his own home. Later on, as we were busy engaging in our favorite activity, my dark side had a huge urge to scream loud enough for the entitled family to hear me. But as I didn't want to muddy the waters anymore, I decided against it. I didn't know that if you had house guests, they could just dictate the way you live. Is that really a thing? What do you guys think? You think you would have reacted like the boyfriend in that situation? I probably would have, maybe not to the point of raising my voice or telling them to get the F out right away, but I would have stopped them and say, "Hey, what the hell? You're living in my house now and you're staying here. These are my rules, not yours. So if you like them, cool. If not, then you can go away." But now let's move on to the next story about the same cousin. Cousin Karen has 4 children. Each of her kids is the personification of the word bratty. She refuses to discipline them and constantly makes excuses for their behavior. She's also very judgmental of our decision to not have children. She has often made some snide comments towards me, implying that I'm the selfish wench who is depriving my boyfriend of the joys of raising children. For these reasons and for her generally entitled behavior, my boyfriend had cut ties with her. However, when he and I visited his paternal home for his parents' anniversary celebration, we ran into her again. My boyfriend's dad had urged him to use this occasion to mend bridges with Karen. So we both tried and make nice and engaged in small talk with her. During our conversation, boyfriend mentioned that we were leaving for Melbourne for vacation in a few days. At this, Karen's eyes lit up. "Oh, that sounds so much fun," she said. "My husband and I haven't gone anywhere since our honeymoon." She whined some more about how hard it is for them with 4 kids, if only they could afford such luxuries, etc, etc, etc. I could tell where this was going. My boyfriend probably felt sorry for her, being the kind and generous soul that he is, offered to buy them a weekend in a resort in Mount Abu, a hill station in the Indian state of Rajasthan. Karen's face scrunched up and said, "That's nice, but why can't you just take us to Melbourne with you?" My boyfriend is getting a bit annoyed, but still patient, and he says, "Well, we want to spend some time alone together. Plus, we'll be meeting some close friends there. Besides, Mount Abu is a beautiful place. Your kids will love it." Karen replies in her annoying tone, "I still can't see why you can't take us to Australia. You're being so selfish, going on this great trip and sticking your family with a cheap weekend getaway." My boyfriend's mom says, "Karen, he's making a very generous offer. Either take it or leave it." Karen replies with an expression that morons wear when they think they've had a great idea. "Oh, I know! Why don't my husband and I go to Mount Abu and you can take our kids to Melbourne?" To which I reply, "What?" And she continues, "It's a great idea. The kids have fun in Melbourne with you two, and my hubby and I can enjoy a peaceful weekend. This way the kids can actually spend some time with their uncle. You never make time for them." My boyfriend is starting to lose his patience and he says, "I'm offering for the last time. It's either the weekend in Mount Abu or nothing at all. And why the hell would we ruin our vacation taking care of your kids?" And Karen replies, "How can you say that? My kids are so well behaved. You'll have so much fun spending time with them. Besides, my husband and I could really use some quiet time together. You and OP don't have any responsibilities. You have no idea how hard it is to raise 4 kids. You can afford this trip. I don't see why you won't share with family." Boyfriend cuts her off. "One more word and you're losing my Mount Abu offer." On hearing this, Karen shuts the F up. We all had dinner together and she was mercifully quiet. If only her kids had followed her example. You'd think this would be the end of it, but no. We had seriously underestimated her dedication to her Karenness. A few days later, she showed up at my apartment with her kids in tow. I was shocked to see her, of course, and asked if something was wrong. She smiled and said, "I'm just here to drop the kids off. You're leaving tonight, right?" After taking a second to recover from the shock, I asked, "Did you fall and hit your head on something? We told you we weren't taking your kids with us. What part of that did you not understand?" She then tried to convince me that my boyfriend had called her later and had agreed to take her kids. I knew this was BS and called it as such. Karen became enraged and asked if I was going to break her kid's heart. Why would I break our promise, and how boyfriend and I could be so cold? I called my boyfriend, and after telling him what was going on, I turned on the speaker. My boyfriend proceeded to chew her out brutally, telling her he would no longer pay for their weekend getaway, and that this is exactly the kind of behavior that had made him cut ties with her. She tried to get a word in, but he would not let her. Karen took her kids and stormed off. Boyfriend and I are having a laugh over this and are still wondering what made her think this plan would ever work. And again, that's not the end. Things escalated even further. A few days later, my boyfriend and I were on FaceTime with his sister. She told us all about what went down on the Karen front after boyfriend and I left. Apparently, she had gone crying to her father and a few other relatives, including boyfriend's sister, to complain about how my boyfriend and I set her up to be humiliated in front of her kids and how her kids are heartbroken. Boyfriend's sister simply hung up on her. The other relatives either laughed it off or tried to explain to her why she was in the wrong. All except her father. Her dad had the gall to go to boyfriend's parents' house and yell at them for making his daughter and his grandkids cry. He whined on about how they had raised my boyfriend and his sister to be selfish, how they needed to start acting like family, and a whole bunch of other nonsense. At first, my boyfriend's dad tried to stay calm and explain to his brother what had actually happened, But as it turned out, boyfriend's uncle logic receptors had stopped functioning a long time ago. He continued to whine and demanded that my boyfriend fulfill his promise of paying for his daughter's family's weekend in Mount Abu. My boyfriend's dad is a very patient man. His mother is not. She never hesitates to shut down this kind of stuff. She tore into Karen's dad, telling him his daughter was a good-for-nothing piece of ass who thinks the world owes her something. She also said that the only reason she's allowed to come to their, boyfriend's parents, place is because of their concern for her children. She gave boyfriend's uncle an ultimatum. Either his daughter would apologize to my boyfriend and I, or they would cut ties with her completely. The uncle is a chauvinistic butthole and tried to tell his brother to get his wife under control. Boyfriend's dad simply told him to get out and not come back unless it was to apologize. My boyfriend's parents have often helped Karen and Todd financially and routinely buy gifts for their kids, and they've never asked for anything in return. Boyfriend's mother usually is a very kind and gentle lady, but the moment anyone attacks her kids, she turns into the mama bear to end all mama bears. Karen probably doesn't want to fall out of favor with boyfriend's parents. His sister knew that we may get a few annoying phone calls from her, so she could apologize during our vacation. So she took it upon herself to make it clear to Karen that she is not to disturb us in any way. We, of course, thanked her for being such an MVP. Oh my god, the amount of drama and people canceling other people out, like, oh, I'm gonna cut ties with you, you need to apologize, and all because of one entitled person and her daddy. Course. Just reading this story kind of stressed me out. Wow, that cousin is a hellspawn, isn't she? So let's make a short recap. First of all, she tries to impose her rules while being a guest in somebody else's house. Then she tries to piggyback for free to somebody else's vacation overseas. When that fails, she tries to get rid of her kids by sending the kids on that vacation. When that failed, she played it off and tried to put them on the spot by taking the kids directly to their house the day they were leaving. Probably thinking she wasn't gonna get turned away because the kids are right there, and who would do that in front of kids, right? Oh my god. And when that goes sour, she goes and cries to the whole family, nobody buying her BS except her dad, and then he makes up a hellstorm to which he also has to apologize for. Honestly, I'm all for family. But not this kind of family. That's the family that, yeah, it's okay to cut them off, right? What do you guys think? Alright, well, once again, we've reached the end of the video. I really hoped you liked this one, and if you did, go ahead and click like. If you haven't joined the community, go ahead and click subscribe. And of course, if you have a story you'd like to share, just go over to the Lost Genre subreddit, there's a link in the description, and share your story. And having said all that, I'll see you guys on the next video.